Good evening there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. How do you do? I don't know how to do an S with my arms. But everyone, thank you for joining me here tonight on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. It is March 11, 2021. What an incredible week of wrestling. I have been very careful with all of my intentions all throughout the week, like being careful, as to what I put out on Twitter, what I should talk about, and it's because I felt it in my bones that tonight I should just save everything for tonight. Just let maybe some breadcrumbs, maybe a little trail. Leave that behind a little bit, because man, I am so ready to talk about some wrestling tonight. You have no idea. Just, chomping at the bit. Literally. Like I had a bit and I was chomping on it later on. I didn't know what that's. Look, the important thing is that we're all here together live, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because this is where the magic happens. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, and that means that I record this podcast in front of people. I don't do like those other cowards, right? Who sit behind a microphone in their studio and they start blah, 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 and they talk into their podcast and they're like, this didn't sound quite right. I will retake this. Or, I could explain this better. Let me retake this. No takes. None of that crap. You get pure and unfiltered Warren. Much respect to everyone who does podcasting. It doesn't matter how you do it. The important thing is that you're done just being stupid. I don't think I'm better than anyone else. Hell no. Jesus. There's so many people out there doing it better than I am. But I do it live, and there are always people who come and join us on Thursday evenings, and it's always a good time. If you ever do have a chance, do come and hang out in the chat. It's a good time. You get to hang out with people like Tim Traver. Good to see you, Tim and Robert Sterling. How you doing? Welcome to the chat, both of you. Kelly Tonhes is here as well. Nice to see you, Kelly. Robert Larry, hello, sir. Mr. Fretz is here as well. Nice to see you, Mr. Fretz. We've got, let's see who else we got. Oh, Wrestling Shit. The guy who saved the streak, the comment streak, is here tonight. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Anakin JMT. Hello, sir. William Davis. Good to see you. Justin Firestein is here as well. We've got Benoit William Davis. I said William Davis twice. I'll say it a third time. William Davis is here. We've also got 5th generation Cardi Joseph with it. Hello. Good to see you. Mr. Fantastic is here. Everyone keep calm. Spinny. Spencer Love from Love Wrestling. Flowman is here as well. Nice to see you. DGMC is here. Daniel Hayes. I am so thrilled to have all of you joining me here tonight live. Pete Davies. Hello. Nice to see you as well. Thrilled everyone is here. Everyone is great. Everything is fantastic when you come and join me live here on Thursday nights. And if you can't, I appreciate it as well. Whether you're watching this on YouTube live or not, do consider giving the video a thumbs up. That kind of stuff really does help. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because yes, the audio is available, and I wanted to say hello to everyone watching live, listening to the Mr. Warren Hayes show on audio, because the numbers keep climbing. There's still more and more people tuning in on the live part. Hats off to you. I'm really glad you guys are tuning in and that you're adding me to whatever routine you have. Super appreciative of that. Show some love there as well if you can, with a review, a like, a subscription, a follow, whatever way. It's fantastic, and I appreciate what you do. So there you go. Always remember to visit belltobells.com if you want some women's wrestling coverage. We got all sorts of great stuff on the way. That's BELLTOBELLES. Or follow us on Twitter as well. That's also fantastic. Do go check it out. You can also join the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord if you're enjoying the chat tonight. And you're not, Discord it's nothing to be afraid of. I know people are like, oh, I'm not sure I understand how Discord works. It's not that hard. And it's really a great environment. Lots of great people here. If you like the chat here, it will translate into what's the word I'm looking for? It will translate into a great conversation over there as well. I don't know, but if you enjoy the live chat, you'll continue to enjoy the conversation over on the Discord. So that's fantastic. Do consider joining the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord over there. The link is in the description. I want to say hello to Joe Hansen. Good to see you. You can always support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show via Discord. If you join the Discord, you get to join the patrons and I on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show post stream, which I call Warren is Off the Clock. And tonight, the patrons are bringing suggestions in because I take calls, I take conversations. If you join us tonight on the Patreon, come and tell me what I should be talking about. If there's stuff that I haven't talked about on the show tonight that you'd like to hear me talk about, that's where you have to do it. Come on over, join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Patreon. That's always a good time. You can also show some support by joining the channel as well over at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. There's a button there to join. Another great way to show some support. I've been talking about it the past couple of weeks, and it's going pretty good. We're getting a steady rhythm going here as well. We got a comment streak going, adding comments, adding likes to YouTube videos, and it is the easiest and simplest way to show support. Like, I appreciate everyone who is a patron, who drops super chats, all that stuff. I really, really do appreciate it. And maybe if you can't help out on that end, a comment, a like, that kind of stuff is so important to channel growth. Not just for mine, for any YouTube creator that you enjoy, that you would like to see better and bigger things happen for them. Get involved on that level. Thumbs ups and comments especially, and we have a comment streak going. I'm going for 10 consecutive videos. I don't include the slates, the Wednesday, the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night slates. I don't include them in the streaks. Not anymore, just because they're meant to be consumed like as a one-off, and then they just disappear, and you never really go back to watch one of those. Whereas the show here, other videos, well, there's a little more stuff to it. There's a little more conversation to be had. So I'm looking for 10 comments per video, and if we can keep that up for 10 consecutive videos, this is what I'm going to do as a reward. After this, if we reach a 10 streak, I will live watch the Goldberg at 54 WWE documentary. That's on the award-winning WWE network right now. I will absolutely do that. We'll put myself through it, and I haven't watched it for obvious reasons. Don't care about anything related to Goldberg, but I am super curious to check that out. Maybe I'll even be able to do some, you'll get my live reactions. Maybe I'll do some live fact checking as we're going along. If we get up to 10, I'll gladly do it. And we're at 6 right now, so we've got 4 more videos to go. You can't drop comments while the video is live. You have to wait till we're done here, but hey, come on over. Come on over and just strike up a conversation too at the same time. I mean, everyone wins. Everyone wins. And as I said, you can also drop super chats tonight, and I will read your question or comment on the air. Such as Anakin GMT, who left a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, the only thing to be afraid of on Discord is DGMC. That is right. That is absolutely right. Because DGMC is a beast. I don't know what I'm talking about. But DGMC is supposed to get a microphone to join us because he is a patron. Thank you very much, by the way, for your support, DGMC. And, for the longest time, we're trying to get him to get a microphone so he'll do calls, so he'll do a call-in, but he's not doing it. Evan Wright. How you doing? Left us a super chat. Thank you very much. he says, yes, the award-winning WWE Network with Michael Burdick. It's the stupidest joke. If you join the slates on Mondays and Fridays, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. What this joke is all about. But thank you everyone for joining me tonight. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We really have tons to get into. So let's just get to it. Let's start it off with let's do the weekly wrestling inspection. It's a train like the Strowman Express. Here we go, folks. Choo choo. All right, let's get to it. Let's get things cooking. We are going to begin by I'm going to start by giving you some final my thoughts, my overall thoughts, my final thoughts in regards to the AEW pay-per-view that happened this weekend. AEW Revolution. If I can, there we go. Here they are. And I'm going to give it some cool beans because I thought it was a fine show. I thought it was a fine show. I don't have any problems with it. I don't think it was like I don't think it's as I don't think it was as good as Revolution 2020, which is I think legendarily good pay-per-view. I enjoyed Full Gear a lot more than this. I think I may have liked it more than I did All Out 2020. I mean, it look. I don't want to feel like I'm bringing it down because I thought it was a good show. I thought it was fine. There was more than enough good stuff on it to enjoy. Let's run down some things here. Let's go down. And I see some people talking about the New Japan Cup in the chat. Don't worry. We're going to talk about the New Japan Cup for absolutely sure. But yeah, let's start ahead. Let's start right now. The pre-show match was Dr. Britt Baker and Maki Ito defeating Riho and Thunder Rosa. I think it was a strong, fun opener. It wasn't even the pay-per-view opener. It was like on the pre-show, but you know what I mean, like the curtain jerker, whatever you want to call it. And a great surprise to start off an evening that would have a few other surprises. Some good, some bad. It was an evening full of surprises. But Maki Ito is definitely on the positive side of the surprises. What a great twist. Comes out and does her sing and dance number. Fucking great. And I know the talking point that everyone has right now is that the talking point everyone has is that Maki Ito is something special. AEW needs to, and I'm not going to change the discourse, and I'm not going to try and nuance it. I think it's very, very clear. Maki Ito in AEW would become a sensation. Is she a main event, top tier, mind-blowing addition to the female roster? I'll tell you this. I think she's still a little green. You know, she still has some polish that needs to come on. But as far as character work, as far as being a personality, as far as being someone who's larger than life, charismatic, like you'll notice I use the word a sensation as opposed to like a megastar. She would bring something deeply, deeply missing in the AEW women's division. Not that Britt doesn't have a great personality, but that's it. It's like it's pretty much only Britt who has the strongest, like, female all around character here. So I'm thrilled here for her. And if anything, like, I don't know what her status is right now. I don't know if she's signed or not, whatever. But if anything, if I'm a wrestling promotion, if I'm an indie promotion, I'm booking her. I'm bringing her to, spring break. I'm giving her bookings at WrestleMania week. Again, I don't know. Maybe she has something signed with AEW. I have no idea. We're just talking. We're just talking. We're just speculating here. We're having a little fun. But listen, I swear, 2 weeks of her in front of live crowds doing her theme song, and you have the entire arena singing along, even if they don't understand the words, and doing the moves. I swear to God, it's the next Cousin Inare. It's bigger than Judas. I think it's amazing. I think it's absolutely amazing. So this was a good opener. And like Evan Wright just pointed out, thank you very much, Evan, for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says Rio versus Maki is the main event Monday for the new Evolution show, which, by the way, has a pretty good lineup. If this is the combination that they want to do, like use the established stars versus the up and comers, as opposed to Dark, where sometimes it's a combination of just developmental talent. Like, I still can't figure out what the difference is, but I'll sit down and I'll watch it and I'll form an opinion later. As it stands now, like we've got, like Evan said, Riho versus Maki is the main event on Monday. We're getting Jungle Boy versus Danny Lamlight, which should slap something fierce. So I'm excited for that. It's all good stuff. And of course, as you all heard by now, we're getting Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in the main event of St. Patrick's Slam. Did sort of, yeah. You know, at least, here's the thing. I don't mind, like, again, bring me more super cards. The Wednesday Night Wars need the super cards. I love it. But St. Patrick's Slam is a little disappointing to me. You could have gone with, St. Patrick's Shillelagh, right? Or Shenanigans. It could have been something a little closer to the Irish tradition than just like Slam. It's like, my God, people. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. And I'm excited to see the women in the main event and in an unsanctioned, lights out, no disqualification, anything goes match. Good shit, pal. But let's come back to Revolution. The first official match of the card was the AEW World Tag Team Championship being defended. The Young Bucks actually successfully defended their titles against Chris Jericho and MJF. Solid match again, and a good way to start off the pay-per-view. Nick Jackson's hot tag was awesome. I kind of think Chris Jericho dragged this match down a little bit. I kind of feel like he brought everything a little down, a little slower, not quite as spectacular. I kind of feel if we had 4 younger guys, if the 4th guy was another younger guy, I think we could have hit some other heights. Of course, the Bucks win. Meltzer Driver does it. It was fine. I like it because it's one of these matches where it shows off the diversity that the Young Bucks have, their capacity to work a more grounded game, something a little more, bear with me here, traditional. It's something not as rough, not rough, but not too contrived or choreographed, and they're capable of doing that. That will always be the dichotomy. That will always be the issue with me with the Young Bucks. But it's very personal. It has nothing. As myself being like, I can appreciate a good spot fest once in a while, but I really have an appreciation for when the Young Bucks are able to pull off these great grounded matches like they had with Paige and Omega last year, like they had with FTR at All Out last year. That's the thing. I'm the last guy who's going to sit here and hate on the Young Bucks. I really don't hate on them. It's just there's a certain type of their match that I prefer. It's just as simple as that. And I can, even the other type of match, I can appreciate it. By the way, Anakin, I saw your super chat. I'm just saving it for a little later. Death Triangle won the Casino Tag Team Battle Royale to become the number 1 contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championship. there were a couple of fun story bumps established in this match here. QT Marshall being done with the Nightmare Factory, or at least, having some tension there. That was fun. But there was a lot of lying around, and I've been vocal about this in the past. There's a lot of, I don't like battle royals where people sort of lie around the ring and let the spots happen. Just like, put yourselves in headlocks, work. Like, there was at some point Dustin and Matt Sydal were just like leaning up against each other on the ground, and they were like, Dustin, throw some punches. You got to get this guy out of the ring. Like, minimal, but it's still it's something that irks me. And to AEW's credit, I think it was a big problem with their battle royals for a while, but they seemed, up until this point, they seemed to have fixed that problem quite a bit. Now there was, I don't like it. You have other competitors around you, even though we're supposed to be focused on the spots in the ring. You can be doing just like, oh, I'm going to try and push you over. I'm going to beat you down. I'm going to put you in a hold. Anything. Just don't go like this, and like, wait till the spot is over before coming back in. That it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal, but let's see here. No. Yeah, so the what is going on? Oops. I think the bot might have an issue. I think the bot might have a slight issue here. Pulling up all the... Wow. Okay. Apologies for that who are in the... Apologies for those who are in the chat right now. The Streamlabs bot is reposting stuff. Clearly. I wonder if I pause it here. Give me a quick second. Apologies, everyone. That is very weird. Let me get into the console here. Seems to stop. Wonder what that was all about. That's a lot of shamrock shakes for Kristen, indeed. Okay. Seems to have calmed down. That's so weird. Okay, so we're still up to date. Okay, I've got the actual super chats here. It's a bug, and in case you're wondering, no, it doesn't look like everything has been charged again. Don't worry. Like, I have the list of super chats here, and they're whatever the bot was doing here was just out of the way. That's really weird. That's very strange. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Didn't mean to have it derail a bit here. Okay. But anyway, we get to the point of the battle royal, of the casino tag team battle royal here with the final four, where we have the final four are John Silver, Jungle Boy, and Phoenix and Pac. So we have both members of the of Death Triangle who are in here. Phoenix took out Silver with a big kick. Jungle Boy eliminated Pac. Phoenix and Jungle Boy have just a smoking exchange to finish all of it off. It is just so good. But Phoenix gets the upper hand and he eliminates Jungle Boy. Now, and Bucks and Death Triangle is apparently in our future, ladies and folks. Wow. I don't know how anyone can be disappointed about that. That's something in our immediate future here that is going to happen. I am all for it. It's going to be great. But I'm going to tell you, this is the one thing that I don't understand. Right? Well, I mean, I understand once you see the ending and you're like, yeah, it's going to be great. But we end up building up Jungle Boy throughout the battle royal and building him up strongly. Like, he comes off as a contender. It's like, oh, he's going to win it all. And he's in the final four and he's with Phoenix and he's having these hot exchanges, but gets tossed out. I'm like, man, and I think I've been saying this for the better part of a year at this point. Jungle Boy has to win a big one. Jurassic Express has to win a big one. I'd be curious to see what kind of reactions that they get these days, when, especially compared to a year ago when they were coming out to huge reaction. The act was so over. At some point, like, you don't want to necessarily, you don't want to support a loser, right? Well, I mean, I don't want to support a loser. So, I think, that's just me. But anyway, it was still a good match. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. Some nitpicks aside. J.K. Schwal left us a super chat. Thank you very much, J.K. Schwal. He says, Boomer tries to fix the stream 2.0 from last week. LOL. Yeah. Hey, here's the thing though. To be fair, last week, and thank you for the super chat, by the way, and hello, J.K. Schwal. Last week was all on me. Last week, when I was trying to get shit to work with my rating system, that was me. What just happened here, the bot going cuckoo crazy, that wasn't on me. I don't know what that was all about. I really don't. So, yeah. Moving along, we've also got the AEW World Women's Championship. Hikaru Shida, the champion, defended against Ryo Mizunami. I loved the video package that they did for this. This year. Probably having learned their lesson from the Emi Sakura Ryo match from last year, was on a Dynamite, if I'm not mistaken. Do you remember that? Where people were trying to hype it up and, or they had done very, very little hyping for it outside of Kenny Omega, who was putting over their feud and their history via Twitter. I don't know if you remember that. So maybe having learned the lesson from that point on, sure, I'm okay with that. I thought the package was really, really good. I thought the match had some trouble finding its footing. Like, it didn't have much flow at first. I felt like they really weren't in sync with each other. But things really picked up in the final third of this match. I thought it was hard hitting. It was a lot smoother. It was a lot of fun. I think the pacing of the ending should have been a little, if it had been tightened up a bit, I think it would have benefited overall. But it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Shida retains. And I mean, we still have to underscore the fact that, Ryo Mizunami just came absolutely out of nowhere, I'd say, to win the tournament and be here on the pay-per-view. It was great stuff. I liked it. It was a good match. Miro and Kip Sabian defeated Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy. This was fine. I mean, it was a Dynamite-ish match. I don't know. Did it belong on a pay-per-view? Well, it was a feud. It was well built. But, for what it was there, there was nothing wrong with it. The right men won at the same time. I think it's good. It was fine. Big Money Hangman, big money match. Big money. Well, I mean, he is Big Money Hangman Page now. We saw it. Did you see the fucking lawnmower he got himself? He won the big money match. Hangman Adam Page did against Matt Hardy. With the way it started, I'm not gonna lie. I thought Page was gonna just outright squash Matt Hardy, but no, that's not exactly what happened. We got an actual match out of it. Again, this is another one where You guys who've been listening to me know that I wasn't really into this feud. I thought it was a little under Adam Page, and I still didn't think much of it, and I'm kind of glad it's over. Thank goodness that we had the Dark Order in this situation. I loved the ending where the Dark Order were all at the ringside. Adam Page gets knocked off the apron, but the Dark Order catch him, push him back up so he can roll into the buckshot lariat for the win. I thought that was great. The Dark Order in this whole Hangman Page Matt Hardy thing, to me, really, really saved the day. Like, it really, really did save the day. As for the rest, I don't know. I'm glad it's over. And here's a little something. I think there was a missed opportunity here by AEW, which I don't think happens very often in the way that they conduct and they prepare their stories. But on Wednesday, last night on Dynamite, Matt Hardy was, in the bar, and he was with Private Party, and they were like, hey, don't worry, man, and Matt Hardy's like, don't worry, we're still going to make more money because I hired another tag team, and he hired Butcher and Blade. And that's not the problem necessarily. I feel like AEW, and especially coming from a guy like Matt Hardy, they could have stretched this out a little bit and add some elements to Matt Hardy doesn't have any money, doesn't know how he's going to pay his mortgage or his car payment, or, he's trying to swindle Private Party out of money for like cab fare for an Uber or something like there's stuff here that we could have sank our teeth into to drive home this big money thing. The fact that first quarter earnings for our boy Matt here are just, they've disappeared. I think that could have been driven home a little better on Dynamite than what happened. Again, that's just me. But there could have been something. There could have been something just a little more interesting. Now it just felt like, oh well, he lost his money. Oh dear, let's move on. Takes away a bit from the gravitas. The ladder match happened. We got another surprise here in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. First of all, not a surprise, not to me anyway. Scorpio Sky won it. Like I said, don't necessarily think it's a surprise, but we did have a surprise in that All Ego Adam Page, Ethan Page, I'm gonna get those confused so often, made his AEW debut. It was part of the speculation. That's where everyone sort of thought that who the mystery man was going to be. That's pretty much what was expected. A lot of people on the internet figured this one out. I kind of thought it was the one that made the most sense. And there he is. He is a part of AEW. Overall, the match was okay. I don't think it's going to be one of these memorable AEW ladder matches, period. I think it was okay. And as much as I was like, oh, Rey Fenix is out of a ladder match, and we didn't, I think the match could have really benefited from having one of these top tier Daredevil high flyers to just wow it up, because not that there weren't any great spots, right? Ethan Page, who does a splash mountain on Scorpio Sky on top of Lance Archer, who was sandwiched between a ladder, which was great. Cody doing that awesome Canadian Destroyer on a ladder bridge on Cody, which takes Cody out. Oh, and Cody walks back. I understand. He's working hard. Okay, work smarter, not harder. That's fine. But I was looking at that and I was like, we're overbooking another Cody thing, aren't we? He didn't bleed, by the way. The frog splash from Sky onto Page on the ladder was awesome. And Sky also gets elbowed off the top rope through a ladder, which was a hell of a spot. Scorpio Sky wins. The right man won. I really, really, really thought that he needed to win this, and I'm glad he did. It was good stuff. Oh, I want to say hello to Kristen Ashley, the First Lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Ooh. Welcome to the chat, Kristen. Next we after the ladder match, we got the big reveal, the big signing, the big hurrah, the big thing. Here's what Get the Tables podcast get to see. Here's the big thing, the big surprise. Christian Cage is the big Hall of Fame worthy surprise that Tony Khan had been promising us. He comes out, he has his contract and he signs it, and there we go. It's a great, absolutely great stuff. I'm going to talk about it now. This is one of the things I was excited to talk about. You got to appreciate, you absolutely have to appreciate the fact that just a couple of weeks ago, he's working the Royal Rumble in WWE. And now he shows up in AEW and he's like, yeah, let's do this, pal. That is a huge sign of respect for me. Because this is a guy who's betting entirely on himself. Now, I know a lot of people got underwhelmed by this situation here. A lot of people were like, wow, this is not what I was expecting. Where's Brock Lesnar? Where's CM Punk? Of course, CM Punk, every time there's a surprise entrant, CM Punk. But I also think a lot of people worked themselves into a shoot. And Twitter and the internet's pretty good at that. Getting people all excited. They get themselves excited and they're like, ooh, it's going to be CM Punk. And then it's like, no, hang on, just dial it back. Because the thing is that speculating is fun. Speculating is so much fun to do. Sitting around and going like, who do you think is going to be the signee? I love that shit. And I love that we are in an environment, a context, as far as the wrestling industry goes, that we can do that kind of stuff. Because it's fun. But some people take it too seriously. Some people get a little too invested in it. And I know a lot of people, they put the blame of their disappointment on Tony Khan, saying that he hyped it up too much, said he was one of his favorite wrestlers, and he came out with this Mount Rushmore some time ago when he was talking about when he had his Mount Rushmore, he was talking about Bret Hart and Ric Flair, and it wasn't Bret Hart, it wasn't Ric Flair. And I'm like, here's the thing. Tony Khan, TK, owner of AEW, he is a promoter. It is his job to hype the shit out of his show. That's what he's supposed to do. That's it. That's entirely 100% what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get on television. Or not on television, or he can get on television. He does it with Impact, and just tell us this is going to be the greatest night in the history of our sport. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to sell you a ticket. He's supposed to say, I'm going to do the greatest thing. So you can decide to buy into the hype if you want. And I don't mind the hype. When wrestling promoters go out and they say, this is going to be great, we've got this great shit, but I'm like, sure, absolutely. Of course you're going to say that, because that's your company. You want us to tune in. You want us to watch. You want us to buy their pay-per-view. You want us to watch on Wednesdays or Mondays or Fridays, whenever it is. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. The problem is if we get swerved out of something. If they promise us something, but then we get nothing, or we get the complete opposite of what we were promised. And I don't think we got swerved with Christian, because there is a compelling argument to be made in regards to Hall of Fame potential as far as Christian goes. And I think a lot of the issues that a lot of people have in regards to Christian is entirely on the fact that WWE has been in a monopoly for the past 20 years, and they've been deciding who are the top people and who aren't. Where a lot of Hall of Fame careers, and I mean legitimate Hall of Fame careers, I'm not necessarily talking about WWE Hall of Fame careers like, Tori Wilson is in the Hall of Fame. Bless her contributions during the time that she was in WWE. She did a lot of good work, but that's not a Hall of Fame level career that she's had. Christian is a former multi-time world champion. He was world champion in the WWE version of ECW, putting on performances in ECW as world champion that he had no reason to do. He had no reason to be as good as he was. He's a former TNA champion, a former world champion in WWE, multiple-time tag team champion, of course, an originator of the TLC match, a guy who has always been a better worker than Edge. And this is a guy who knows his value. A guy who, just like when he left WWE to go to TNA, decided to fucking bet on himself. And you know what? He probably could smell it when he was around there in WWE a couple of weeks ago going, oh, well, okay, so I'm going to be Edge's second banana again. Because in Vince's mind, Christian is not a main eventer. Edge is a main eventer, but not Christian. When Christian is like, why? Why aren't I perceived as that? Why? That's the thing. And I can get behind someone who goes off and says, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to go over here. Thank you, Vince, but I'm heading this way now. And I can get behind that. And I sincerely and truly believe from the deepest recesses of my dank, blackened heart that the reason why people don't appreciate Christian as much is because of how WWE has portrayed him. But you take the time to look over history, to look at other matches that he's had, and it's hard to deny that he is not a generational talent. It's very, very difficult to deny. Well, why didn't he make it in WWE then? That's another argument that has been directed to me. If he's so good, why didn't he make it in WWE? Oh, yeah. If you're asking that, then there's part of the question that is the answer. It's like if he didn't make it in WWE, it's because there was one guy who was like, yeah, no, this ain't it. Because everywhere else he's been a success. Everywhere else he's been undeniable. So, sometimes I wish fans would set aside their disappointments, or they're like, okay, and just try to take a more objective approach to it and be like, was I suckered into this? Why am I disappointed? How can you be disappointed in a talent who decides to bet on himself, to go over to another promotion and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try something else. Instead of just being stuck in a rut or being, being sent to catering week after week. Why can you not be happy about that? And I think it's always the thing. After, it's all business, it's politics, it's marketing, it's promotion. That's all it is. Tony Khan saying this is the greatest night in the history of our sport. That's completely arguable. WWE last year at WrestleMania was putting on, or not at WrestleMania, after WrestleMania was putting on the greatest match of all time, the greatest match ever. That is also very fucking debatable. But it's hype. It's all hype. Now, the one thing that I do want to underscore here very, very quickly before I get to a couple of super chats, the one thing that I'm kind of bummed that AEW has decided to go down on Wednesday. Christian comes out and sort of ogles Kenny Omega and the title, and I'm like, no, AEW, no, don't do this again. Don't bring in a guy from the outside to go straight into world title contention like you did with, Jake Hager and Brody Lee and Brian Cage and Eddie Kingston. You've got people on the inside that you can elevate and push and do. And I was sort of annoyed by that. And it's not even the question that, that the ending's telegraphed, that Christian's going to win. Christian's never going to win over Kenny Omega at this point. It's not even that. It's just like, I was really hoping that they'd keep him away from that, at least for a while. Yeah, to their credit, they didn't do it with Miro, that's one thing I can, but, and it's an annoyance. It's something where I'm like, you don't need to do this. You don't need to bring someone in and then push them there. Not when you have a 90 plus man, not woman, 90 plus man roster. You're not starving for talent regardless, You really aren't. I can get he can be a transitional challenger. I get it. I absolutely get it. That's fine. But hey, it's a nitpick. I am very, very glad that Christian Cage is in AEW. Good for him. I really, really, really hope that it works out for him. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the super chats. Where are they? Okay, here we go. And there we go. Okay, we got ourselves some super chats. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, okay, only took 2 minutes this time to acknowledge Kristen. Well done. Thank you. I still owe her some coffees, though. I know. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much, DGMC. Says, the wrestling theorists WandaVisioned themselves. Yeah, that, in regards to the Christian Cage stuff, yes, I would agree. It was all like these people who were super disappointed at the ending because it wasn't Mephisto, because they had all figured out this theory that it was Mephisto was going to be the big bad at the end of WandaVision. When it wasn't, they were like, "Whoa, this sucked." But they developed this story for themselves, but it wasn't the vision that was laid out. So they're like, "This sucks." But no one had said that it was going to be Mephisto, or no one said it was going to be Brock or CM Punk. These are, it's stories that people make up for, and you got to appreciate a passionate fan base like that. But folks, you just dial it back sometimes. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, now give me Christian Cage versus Tanahashi, cowards. Oh, that'd be great. Very low key, great match. Oh, yeah. Good call. That was really good, actually. That would be really, really good. The cinematic match, the street fight. When they said that this was going to be a cinematic match, they were not kidding. Setting was perfect. Camera work was perfect. The setting, dark, foreboding. Set pieces, there were a few of them, but didn't feel contrived. Like everything felt like it was supposed to be where it was. Darby going through the glass pane window. The shovel shot to Brian Cage's head was so perfect. The bat toss. Darby and Brian Cage dying after Darby dives off a second story through a structure. Here's the thing. Here we go. Are you ready for this, folks? Okay, here we go. Was this the greatest cinematic match of all time? Yes, it was. Because it was shot like an action sequence. It was shot like a television show. It was shot like something that you would actually tune in week after week to just look at that. It kind of reminded me, not exactly in the same execution, but it kind of reminded me of Lucha Underground in different ways. But this was amazing. It was so well produced, worked to everyone's strengths. Brian Cage looked like $1 million. $1 million in this match. The way it was shot, how he was lit, the silhouette, fantastic shit. Darby had the tools to continue to come across as a daredevil lunatic. Sting was brilliant. It worked to all his... He worked harder than I expected him to work in this match. He really did. I was stunned. It just connected on all the dots. I think the only caveat that I had was you had to do either one of two things. Either ditch the music or ditch commentary. Both was frustrating because then I wasn't sure exactly what I was watching. Because the music serves to enhance the drama and commentary sort of supplanted that. That was a little... It was a little... But this was so well done. This was really, really compelling. And I see in the chat, people talking about, what about the Boneyard match? The Boneyard match is still very good. And that was the template. If you ask me, I don't think, up until this point, I don't think anyone had done it better than the Boneyard match. I think this one supplants it. Doesn't take anything away from the fact that the Boneyard match was very, very well done and a lot of fun. Well thought out, well paced. But this, everything connected. The mood changes, the light, everything was good. Not to be confounded with the Boner Yard match from Talkin' Shop-A-Mania. Just to make sure we're... And finally, we're here. The main event. Oh boy. Barbed wire exploding ring match. Look, I enjoyed the match. A great deal. Bryce Remsburg, this is what I don't think we have to underscore this. The referee that was selected to do this match was smiling, friendly, affable, joyous little Bryce Remsburg. Like the most adorable ref that they have on their roster. The kindest dude. And it's Bryce fucking Remsburg who ends up being the referee of this match. Right off the bat, I was like, brilliant booking. And he's in his bomb suit. He's got the face shield. I'm like, this is great. And the match, the way it was structured, just like a good old-fashioned FMW match. They tease throwing each other into the barbed wire. And it's Kenny Omega. If you wanted some old school in your old school match here, the powder to the eyes, boys and girls. Powder to the eyes. And that allows him to throw Mox into the ropes and get the first explosion. And they start flipping onto the barbed wire boards. More explosions. There's the barbed wire chair. The fucking paradigm shift off the apron to the floor. Moxley getting out of a one-winged angel. I fucking love this spot. Moxley getting out of a one-winged angel attempt by setting off an explosion with his foot. Or he gets through the pin, and it's his foot. He causes the explosion, which gets Omega to flop off of him. I love it. I fucking love it. Gallows and Anderson interfere, and I'm like, why? But they bring out the exploding baseball bat, the exploding barbed wire bat. Onita, I don't know if it was Onita's, but it's like, yes! I was like, my God! And Omega uses it on Moxley and it explodes. And I'm like, Jesus, this is so good. Now, here's when Omega does get the one-winged angel, covers Mox, pins. I thought it was a little anticlimactic. Not only because we had been building towards the explosion, but I was like, really? This is it? And even up until that point, I was like, wait, it can't end like this. There was something weird going on. Then commentary starts saying, oh, but we can't stop the bomb from exploding. The countdown continues. And I'm like, what kind of fucking outfit did you hire that you can't fail safe the bombs going off. Who the hell, you know? Anyway. Of course, we all know what happened at this point. We've all seen it. We get the final countdown for the bomb. The sirens go off. I'm on goosebumps. I'm going like that. I'm watching this with Kristen, and Kristen is like, "You are way into this." I'm like, "I know. This is great. This is exactly it. They brought in the sirens. I was sold. I was like, Jesus, this is great. This is it, man." And we all know what happened. We got, sparklers. Got some smoke. We got Eddie Kingston running in. And when Eddie Kingston ran in, I was like, oh my God, okay. Awesome shit. Eddie Kingston running in, babyface turn, wants to protect his buddy, I was like, this is Onita Terry Funk shit. Like, I got the reference. I'm loving every second of this. Then the explosion is like a complete dud. Like, what the fuck? And I start laughing because because the comedy of the absurdity of what we're looking at right now is just over the top. But I also can't help, and Chris and I we're bawling. But inside of me, I could not be bummed that it didn't happen, that it didn't go off. That was like, so we're having fun on Twitter and just goofing off on it. And yeah, it's a moment worthy of goofing, regardless, But then I know Mox takes the mic after and he says, well, Kenny Omega built this shit. Of course, what do you expect? And I'm like, ha ha ha, good way to save kayfabe here. But then the line starts going around. It's like, it was supposed to be a dud. I think Tony Khan said this on the post, the media scrum after, said, well, it was supposed to be a dud. It wasn't supposed to go off. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second. Not in a million years was this supposed to be not having an explosive finale. No way. Because otherwise, Eddie Kingston wouldn't have stayed, hunched over Mox like he was injured while medical personnel coming into the ring to check on them while commentary is putting it over. There was no way that the dud was planned, because the rest of the angle was executed as everything had exploded, and Eddie Kingston got blown to bits, not literally, but you know what I mean, to protect Moxley. There was no way. If they were supposed to plan a dud, they would not have had fucking Onita cutting promos on it in the lead up to it. Right? And showing pictures of the FMW rings going kabloom. Come on now. But I'll tell you one, but it's not, but if this was indeed supposed to be a dud, that it was planned from the get-go, it's even worse. It's worse. Because then you really do we all got bait and switched. Then it was from top to bottom. Then we were promised explosions. We got Onita telling us that it was going to be violent. We got everyone in here excited, and then turns out, well, nope, wasn't supposed to go off regardless. No, that's what I don't buy, because it's even worse. Because then you get into some WCW 1995, not 1995, maybe 1998, 1999 swerve bullshit, where everyone just leaves pissed off. So I honestly don't I honestly do not believe that that was a dud. So I'm like, okay, so AEW is still going, this is the route they've decided to take. Okay, fine. Even though there was no way it was planned to be a done. Okay, that's fine. I think what's made it even worse for me is how much they doubled down on it on Dynamite last night. Now, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston sitting around, having a drink, being pals again, and Eddie Kingston like saying, "Why did I stay there? Because of anxiety." And I was like, okay, we didn't have to go down this route. But Eddie Kingston has always he's always wore his mental health issues on his sleeve. His past is very, very clear. His, prison and all that. He's always been very, very upfront with that. So the minute the guy starts talking about his anxiety and his inner struggles, you're like, okay, I know it's kayfabe. I know you didn't have a panic attack lying on top of Jon Moxley, and that's why you weren't moving. But okay, Eddie, if there's one guy who could deliver it, make it sound credible, it was you. Fine, it's all good. Moxley, as DGMC pointed out in the super chat, by the way, thank you very much, DGMC, says, when in doubt, blame Impact. LMAO, I'm dead. It was such a good line. It's like, it's probably Impact that supplied the bomb. Yeah, it was Impact. Good stuff. And you know what? That would have been enough. That honestly would have been enough. But then they come back later on when Kenny Omega's in the ring cutting his promo with Don Callis. Yes, 69 me, Don. Fucking hilarious. Not the kind of thing that I was expecting to hear on my wrestling programming. Hilarious. But they keep doubling down on it, on the fact that, it was supposed to do this. And I'm like, look, I enjoy when wrestling is explained to me, when there's things that happen and it's like, well, this is the cause and effect here. Because the opposite, you guys know I hate. When things happen, it's like, why is this happening? I don't understand. But at some point, I think there's also a line where it becomes too much. It's like, we get it. But mostly on top of that, we're not morons. We know the bomb didn't go off as planned. I'm calling it the bomb, but you guys know what I mean. The explosions. The explosions didn't go off as intended. We get that. Because we're not complete morons. But the more you folks in AEW keep telling us, no, this was planned. Look, this was the thing. And it's not even tongue-in-cheek all that much. It's like, no, we're really driving home the fact that this wasn't supposed to, there was no explosion that was supposed to happen. You're like, man, we're not complete suckers. We're not complete dullards. At some point, I do think there's a moment where you cut your losses and you're like, you know what? Let's just say this and move on, and let's not address it. Because if you go too much into it, it just becomes layer on top of layer on top of layer. I'm like, so I really think ultimately, AEW worked it a little too hard. Pushed it down our throats a little too much. When they really, honestly, I was satisfied with the Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston stuff. I was like, okay, look, they're being a little facetious about it. Eddie Kingston's calling in his mental health. Okay, fine. Let's just move on. It's good. Just went a little too far. Just went a little too much. And don't get me wrong, like the rest of that promo, especially when Eddie Kingston came in and Don Callis, started talking about his past and saying, you were this, Eddie, you're always a guy, you always come this close. I thought that was fantastic. Great stuff. But honestly, I really hope AEW just drops the exploding thing, especially in the context that we goddamn know that it was supposed to be a huge explosion. just ready to move on from this. Oh, there we go. There we go. Revolution. AEW 2020. Like I said, not a bad show. Not a bad show. Don't have much to talk about in regards, like really specific things to talk about Raw this week, but I am going to talk about that one promo, that one segment. Oh, you guys know which one I'm talking about. You've probably. Oh, wait a second. Just before we move on, apologies. Just before we move on, Anakin left us a super chat earlier on tonight. Let me just pull it up here. Just before, it was before the weird slate of super chats that suddenly started happening. Let me see here. Oh, it's also good. Look, but he was basically saying people need to stop comparing this pay-per-view to Hell in a Cell 2019. And I mean, the only point of comparison really is, the endings to the pay-per-views. But, because Hell in a Cell 2019 was it wasn't a bad show. Because this is a show where we got Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks in a Hell in a Cell match, right? We got, we also had that great Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Eric Rowan, Luke Harper match, which was really, really good as well. Charlotte Flair and Bayley. The one thing, the comparison between the two is, the endings sucked. Sucked the air out of the paper. But the main difference here is that nothing went wrong in Hell in a Cell. This was booked to be that way. Whereas at AEW, it's a technical malfunction. There was a glitch. Something happened. The bombs didn't go off. Okay. But yeah, no, there's no point in comparing the two, really, because, and especially, I know there's an old adage, in show business where you leave your audience wanting more. That's essentially it. You end strong, so people will leave your show with a good rush of dopamine, and they're feeling good about it. So the rest of the show will be tainted with rose-colored glasses. But the opposite is true as well. You end with something shitty, and suddenly the rest of your show was all kind of shitty. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, if you can't help people feeling the way they feel, for sure. But I think there was too much. There was enough good on the rest of the Revolution card to be like, yeah, this was a bad show. It was not a bad show. Just like Hell in a Cell was not a bad show either. It just had a bad main event. There you go. And besides, at some point, but in WWE, WWE does this, AEW does that. That's also a very tiresome argument at the same time. It's also very, very tiresome. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Shane McMahon promo real quickly. What the fuck was that? What the hell was that? And apparently people were worried that he was not well because he was breathing hard into the microphone, and he was kind of confused. It was just bad. And I look, scattered all over the place. I'm convinced that Shane McMahon forgot his lines. But from all reports, everything that's reported, the promo was executed in the way that was planned. It was supposed to do that. Hey, yeah, I got to put on some hot trash. Thank you very much. By the way, hello there, Jason PS3. Hello there, Injection 2K. Yeah, that's it. That's the thing, is that people were worried about him, but I'm like, I don't understand what's to worry about here. I don't. He was confused. He forgot his lines. And this is something I've talked about before. There is some sort of weird consensus, or at least some kind of strange assertion, I guess, amongst WWE creative that Shane McMahon is a good promo. And maybe there was a time that he was. It ain't the time anymore. Shane in recent years has a history of flubbing and forgetting his lines and fucking up promos. And he's not that entertaining. He's not that good. I can predict his delivery. He's so monotone in one note. But for some reason, people think he's a great promo. He's not that good. He's better than some people. He's not terrible, but he's not good either. And there he goes, and he's flubbing his line. Because that's exactly what happened. Forgot his lines. But it was delivered in the way that it was supposed to. So I'm like, what's the plan? So it was to make him look sympathetic. It was to make him more likable. I'm like, No. And besides, this whole feud is a mistake. Chat, please, give me an indication, either by yeses or nos. Are you interested in a Shane McMahon Braun Strowman feud? Is this something that's getting you fired up? Is this something that you're like, man, I hope this is a main event, not a main event, but a WrestleMania match? I don't understand who this speaks to. I don't understand who's excited about this. But that was bad, man. That was terrible stuff. And when I was watching it, I was like, Shane's fucking it up. He didn't look in distress. He looked nervous because he forgot his lines. That's what he looked like. How are we doing on time? Okay. Another quick thing here. I'm going to keep the hot trash going here. Buddy Murphy apparently commented on something on the WWE Instagram that has to do with Seth Rollins, or he commented something that ties into what happened on SmackDown last Friday, where he had a backstage segment with Seth Rollins, where he was kind of doing the disciple to the Messiah kind of pose again, and this is what he wrote on in regards to this. Okay, let's point out the obvious. The Mysterios used me. This is Buddy Murphy writing. The Mysterios used me. I never needed them. I'm beyond one of the most talented in-ring performers on the planet. Aaliyah used me to be on TV and advance an acting career. Dominic used me so he had a reason to stand at ringside. Ray was jealous that I became the new face of the cruiserweights and he was left out of the discussion. They took what they wanted, then they left me in the shadows. Sounds like my time in NXT. So, I want to preface this, okay, by saying I will always appreciate things, WWE making sense out of storyline bumps like this, because I did not understand why Buddy Murphy went up to Seth Rollins now he writes this out, right? He writes this out, and I still don't understand. Now it's not a question of, does it make sense? Well, Warren, it makes sense. I mean, how long was this fucking storyline? The Seth Rollins stuff and the Mysterio family stuff. How long was this? And it went through changes that led to Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah developing a thing, sort of, oh, will they, won't they? Are they a couple? Is this legal? So on and so forth. It was stretched out so much that it came to the point where Buddy Murphy turned on Seth Rollins to be with his love, and the Mysterios were high-fiving Buddy Murphy and like, yes, you're a good man. And that was the end of the story. Feel good moment, gets the girl, we all move on. But there's a difference between explaining things and just taking a massive angle, crumbling it up and just tossing it. It just, because that's exactly what they're doing here. This is an angle that WWE was invested in 100%. They invested so much time in this angle, and they wanted us to get involved in it too. They introduced us to the Mysterio family, to Aaliyah, and to Natsu, whatever, I don't remember what her name was. Rey Mysterio's wife is like, it's a family thing. And then we get invested. We're supposed to believe in the power of love. And now what happens? It's not a thing of, oh, well, it explains it all makes sense. It still doesn't make sense, because now you're erasing months of storylining, months of dramatic development to come back literally to square one. Literally to square one, where Buddy Murphy is going to be Seth Rollins' underling, where instead of taking the guy and running with him with Aaliyah, giving him a push, you're like, oh no, creative doesn't have anything for you. Then what's the point? This is when we tell you WWE doesn't make stars. They didn't even try with Buddy Murphy here, and they had the opportunity. They had the storyline. They had the development. They had the turn, the babyface turn, where finally you can like, all right, Buddy Murphy singles run. No, we're not doing anything with him. He's back to where he was. So not only does it underscore the fact that throughout this entire thing with the Mysterios, they did not have a plan for Buddy Murphy. They did not have a plan for him. Not only does it underscore that, but it also underscores that their stories don't matter. And folks, if in WWE wins and losses don't matter, and if storylines don't matter, then what matters? Why does anything happen in WWE if it ends up not mattering? And I'm not making the wins and losses shit up. Bruce Pritchard has said it multiple times on his podcast, to the shock and dismay of many old school wrestling fans, that wins and losses don't matter in WWE. It's something that is fairly well known. But if the storylines don't matter, because that's what they're supposed to be, right? They're a drama company. They do things like soap operas and popular dramas, so we're good, If your storylines don't matter, what's the point? What is the point? Just going to leave that there. I know they finished. Hang on a second, and just a quick. They did finish the Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio storyline. It was finished when Buddy Murphy decided to align himself with the Mysterios, and the Mysterios and Buddy Murphy all were hugging in the ring. They were like, fuck you, Seth, and they left. Seth Rollins then became dejected and lost his way. He became he lost all purpose. He was at Survivor Series and he eliminated himself essentially because it was like, there's no point. The storyline with the Mysterios and Buddy Murphy was all nice, wrapped up with a bow, and was done. Seth could go off and see the birth of his child without an issue. Everything was all set up. It was all set. Everything was done. All they had to do was put Buddy Murphy on a path where he'd be a singles guy and it would all make sense. But no, of course not. And then on NXT, We got the two big announcements, right? And the hot trash is sticking around, folks. We had two announcements. The first announcement, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I don't know. Maybe, no. It's still not it's not good. It's just not good. It's not a good name. It's going to be a 2-night affair that's going to happen on Wednesday, April 7 and Thursday, April 8. How dare you? Triple H, Paul Levesque, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, whatever name you want. I'm talking to you, pal. April 7, which is a Wednesday, April 8 on a Thursday? Are you counter-programming the media juggernaut that is the MrWarrenHayes show? Gonna tell you something, Paul. I was cool with you. I was cool. But, this means war, man. I'm not gonna take this sitting down. You dare come on a Thursday? My night? My show? At the same time? You think you can break me? Just wait and see. That was the first announcement. The second announcement, which we were all kind of expecting, they revealed the NXT Women's Tag Team titles and handed them to Reina Gonzalez and Dakota Kai for winning the Dusty Cup, but losing the match last week. Look, I thought it was stupid enough. I really thought it was stupid enough to begin with that they would hand over the titles to the women, that they would create NXT tag team titles for the women. Not because I don't think there should be less titles for the women, but they currently have traveling tag team championships that go from brand to brand, and they barely know what the fuck to do with them on main roster. There's no tag teams on the men's side. There's even less tag teams on the women's side. We had a number one contenders match on Monday. You remember that? When Naomi and Lana won a match to become the number one contenders. The match happened on Monday and it was done within 5 minutes. So I'm like, what? It still baffles me that Gonzalez and Kai didn't win the titles last week, and now bring in the title. It felt like a consolation prize. It felt like a consolation prize, and I don't like it. And then on top of that, hang on, I'm going. It feels like it was NXT going, it's okay, girls. You didn't win the big belts last week, but we're going to give you these secondary belts here. I don't think it's a good look. I really don't think it's a good look. And then Kai and Gonzalez lose the titles later on in the evening as they're given a good match. Don't get me wrong. But what the hell is this booking? These are the women that won your Dusty Cup and they lose the big title matches 2 weeks in a row. Why did they do that? Oh, was it to set up a singles match later on with Gonzalez and Io Shirai? The Io comes out and she wants to fight Reina, and I'm like, what? Why? What? Is this why they do it? To make sure that, there's, you don't want all the women in the same title situations. Like, regardless, Io Shirai shouldn't go around challenging people. People should be challenging Io Shirai. That's how it works usually when you're a champion. Jesus Christ. It doesn't make sense to me. You know who the real loser in all of this is? Dakota fucking Kai, who has been such a backbone to all of this since she's been back from injury. Her heel turn at War Games 2 years ago is still one of the greatest heel turns in the history of NXT. It was so good, so vicious and vile and perfect, and she has been nothing but solid since. Nothing but solid. And now she's relegated. Not only does her tag team not win either match for some tag team titles, but she's sent to the back of the pile because now Reina is going to be in a program with Io, which I don't understand. Blech. It's a big shrug for me. I'm going to tell you. NXT, look, I'm glad that there's the NXT Women's Tag Team titles that are hanging around. I'm okay with that. I just think the way it was executed, it makes them feel secondary and a quick loss of value. And I think Dakota Kai and Reina Gonzalez, they come out worse off than when they came in as Dusty Cup winners. It's such weird booking. Weird booking. J.K. Schwal left us a super chat. Thank you very much, J.K. Schwal. He says, just wait till Callis moves Impact to Thursday nights to counter program the MrWarrenHayes show. Consider yourself warned, Donald. Just watch what I do to Triple H. Let's finish with some cool beans. Circling back to AEW real quick. The MJF Inner Circle stuff on Dynamite last night was exactly that. It was Dynamite, and I thought that we were coming into more cutesy stuff. You know, the War Council. I was like, oh man, I really thought that this was going to be more cutesy angles. I was like I knew something big was going to happen because it was a main event segment, and I was already like, ugh, main event segments. Why can't we just have a match? But no, we get a double swerve. Not only did Sammy Guevara expose MJF as being a rat bastard, but the rat bastard exposed the Inner Circle for being a bunch of tools. and it turns out MJF has his own faction. Him, Wardlow, FTR with Tully, and Sean Spears. And I love how, people have been picking at, past posts from MJF and, trying to put this whole storyline together. It's been going on for months. I love it. But I'm going to tell you, it had me popping. I was so happy I got chills. And why? Why was it so good? Because you have heels doing heel shit. If you want your heels to be dastardly and evil, to be considered like that, you have them do dastardly evil heel shit. Beating the tar out of guys, tying them up and beating them up some more, having a guy blade, putting him out of his misery. Everything about that angle ruled. And I didn't need 5 minutes of exposition afterwards. I never liked you, Chris Jericho. I know why you did this, MJF. I know why you did it. I didn't need, someone stealing someone's car. Wrestling is best when the stories are told about wrestling, about guys trying to be better than others. Why is the Bobby Lashley championship run right now being near universally praised, right? Why is it? Because Bobby Lashley, ever since he started his push, I'm not talking about the Lana stuff, okay? Ever since he started his push into the U.S. title championship with the Hurt Business, he has been booked as a winner. The whole story with Bobby Lashley becoming WWE champion was told in the ring, gradually, slowly building him up. He goes for the big belt, he gets it, and we get it, and we're all like, this rules. It rules because it was well done, because it was told like a wrestling story should be told. Just like this. MJF wants to take over. He wants to take over the Inner Circle. No, he wants to crush the Inner Circle. He's got his boys behind him. And they beat the shit out of them. just like heels are supposed to do. This was great. Absolutely fucking great. And I, for one, welcome the return of vicious, cutting, asshole promo delivering MJF. I am pleased as punch to have him back. No more I'm running for office MJF, or I'm dinner debonair MJF. I want the MJF that comes to the ring and insults fans at ringside. Of course, there's no fans there, but that MJF who comes in and he tears up their posters and gets creative with his insults. That's the MJF. I want Twitter MJF back. And we have the opportunity right here to get him back. I welcome it. I'm thrilled about it. And you know what? You know what else I'm thrilled about? Santana and Ortiz versus FTR. My God, man. My God, man. I am really, really stoked for this. I am so excited about this. And I can't wait to start talking about MJF again as part of like one of the greatest heels around. I'm really excited. I really have two more things I want to cover before we go. I'm going to take off the cool beans here. Well, I mean, I guess that's... Look, let's wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection. Let's do that first. The New Japan Cup is something that's still going on right now. We're pretty much done with the first round matches. We're moving into the second round. They actually started today. As it stands, I will not lie. As you see on the screen right now, for those of you who are watching on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes right now, I have my predictions. I pulled them back up. My bracketeering that I did last week, and surprisingly, and I'll be the first to. Oh, wait a second. I suck on the super chats tonight. Excuse me. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says Matt Jackson versus Phoenix and Sky versus Darby ruled. Yeah, those were two fun. I particularly liked Sky and Darby Allin. Not gonna lie, I think it's great. Ray Phoenix is amazing. He's absolutely amazing. Thank you for the super chat, Evan. I appreciate it. So, New Japan. My brackets haven't been. My predictions aren't going too bad right now. I mean, this is probably one of the best New Japan Cups I've predicted so far. I've only fucked up twice, and only once in the first round. As you can tell on the graphic right now, everyone who's advanced to the second round right now, we've got Evil, Jeff Cobb, who've advanced, Great Khan and Yano, Goto and Shingo, Minoru Suzuki and Kenta, Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr., Yuji Nagata and Sanada. I had predicted Ishii would go forward. It turns out it's our boy Sanada, Dave Finlay and Yoshihashi, Jay White also advanced as well. I said Evil advanced, but he already had a bye for round one. In the first round, I will tell you this. If you're wondering, it's like, Warren, which matches should I watch? You absolutely, positively, 100% have to watch Shingo Takagi versus Kazuchika Okada on March 6th. That blew me away. What a fantastic match. And you know what? There's still more in the tank of this. If they continue building this rivalry, this feud, and these guys keep working with each other, this could be Wrestle Kingdom level shit right there. These guys work so well together. Right now, it's my favorite match of the tournament. We also had Minoru Suzuki versus Tomoaki Hanma again on the 6th, which surprised me at how good it was. Hanma is, he's stiff, but not stiff as, he punches really, really hard. No, like he's stiff, like he doesn't have much mobility, and it hurts me to watch him wrestle sometimes. But in this match with Minoru Suzuki, they just beat the shit out of each other. Thought that it was great. I also really like Gabriel Kidd versus Zack Sabre Jr. The outcome of this match was inevitable. It was going to be Zack Sabre Jr., but Gabriel Kidd put up a hell of a fight here. Really, really good stuff. And Tetsuya Naito versus Great-O-Khan, but I think I talked about it last week. It's Great-O-Khan's best match so far. He's improving so quickly, wrestling with all these fantastic names. So that was really good as well. Lots of good matches so far. Hell, I'd even tell you to check out Yoshihashi versus Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Beam, which I thought was a surprisingly good match. Oh, and Taichi versus Goto. Oh yeah, that one was really good too. That one was really, really strong. So, you don't have to watch all of it, of course, but if you want to pick out on the pearls right now, these are the ones here. So right now, I was like, okay, so I'll pull up my brackets here and I'll revise things depending on the results that happened earlier today, because Evil defeated Jeff Cobb earlier today in the second round in the first match of the first matches of the second round. He defeated Jeff Cobb, so he's going forward, whereas Toru Yano defeated Great-O-Khan, and I am completely floored by that. Completely floored. It was a fun match, and Yano was terrified of Great-O-Khan, and Great-O-Khan he had no time for his nonsense. He was even like, Yano was pulling out his tape. He likes to use the tape, and Great-O-Khan was like, you want to use the tape? And he turns his back to Yano and he puts his arms behind his back and says, tape my wrists. And, and he's like, okay. Yano tapes him up and he's like, I can beat you with my hands behind my back kind of thing. But eventually Great-O-Khan sort of breaks out of it. But it was, all things that continue to make Great-O-Khan look like a threat. But Yano's like, no, Yano's Yano. No, it was fun. It was a fun match. So Yano essentially right now sort of screws up my bracket a little bit here, because I had predicted Great-O-Khan was going to head to the semifinals on the left side of the bracket, but turns out it's not going to be Great-O-Khan because he was eliminated. So the next match that we're going to get is Evil versus Yano. That needs an adjustment here. So I'm going to go and I'm going to pick Evil to defeat Yano. I really don't see Yano moving past. I didn't think he was going to go by Great-O-Khan. And I love Yano, don't get me wrong. But as I'm looking at my brackets, it makes a lot of sense to have Shingo versus Evil, because Evil is still a big time player, and I'm, doing air quotes here because I'm kind of sick of his matches. But I think, a big win for Shingo would still be the way to go here. I still predict Shingo in the finals on the left side. Whereas Sanada defeating Tomohiro Ishii, well, I think that I think ultimately Sanada is going to defeat Yuji Nagata in the next round. I had sort of booked a vision of 54-year-old Yuji Nagata moving forward, but if Sanada's defeating Ishii, I think he's going to keep going forward to give us Sanada versus Ospreay, which is a logical quarterfinal match. I can understand that, but I still think Ospreay. Goes for it. I'm still picking Ospreay to win the cup. Just as simple as that. So that's going to stay as such. So that's how my brackets look right now. So after the next round, next week, we'll revise. We'll see how we go. I'll switch my picks around if I need to. But yeah, there we go, folks. New Japan Cup. I love me the New Japan Cup. So there you go. One more quick thing before we leave. I'm sure you've heard at this point that the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA, is making their return, right? They're coming back. They're bringing Power back. They're going to be on Fight TV, and I was very excited for that because I've been rooting for the NWA from their return, their YouTube show on Power. I'm really was excited about that. J.K. Schwal left as a super chat. Sorry, just to interrupt. He says, "Oh God, we're getting a 40-minute Yano Evil main event." Oh, probably not be 40 minutes. Probably not. But yeah, I've been excited for the NWA to come back. But today, the NWA made an announcement that they have decided to add to their roster Tyrus, wrestler formerly known as Brody Clay in WWE, was announced as the new member of the roster. And that bums me out because Brodus Clay, Tyrus, who now works at Fox News as a co-host. He had, a couple of years ago in 2019, a former colleague of his, Britt McHenry, filed a lawsuit against Fox stating that Tyrus was harassing her by sending her unwanted and unsolicited messages filled with lewd sexual comments. She filed a lawsuit against, like I said, Fox News and Tyrus over this behavior. She was a co-host of the show Un-PC with Tyrus and filed this lawsuit in the New York State Division of Human Rights. She had complained previously to Fox about the harassment, and they asked her what she did to provoke Tyrus, and that she better have a good case because she is replaceable. All this is, and this is politics aside. Like, honestly, because I saw some people go, when I was talking about this on Twitter, going, "Oh, of course, another conservative." That's not the problem. Like, I sincerely believe that you can be a conservative without being a jerk. Maybe our politics are different, but it's not because you're a conservative that you're immediately a racist, for instance. I think there's a lot of weird connections that have been created over the past 4 years, but that's a whole other podcast that has nothing to do with wrestling. But let me move along here. The point here is that the fact that he's a Fox News host being employed by NWA, that's not the point. The point is that they're hiring someone who's being sued for sexually harassing a female coworker. And the irony here, if we step back for a second, if we think back, and I want to ask you, everyone listening, everyone watching, chat, live or not, do you remember why the NWA shut down their operations last year? COVID? No, it wasn't COVID. They had started up a Carneyland. If you remember, they had turned to their talent to sort of create a weekly variety show with all sorts of different content on the program. You had Allison Kay doing promo school. You had Nick Aldis doing something. You remember that? They had created the whole thing, a whole series to create more content for the channel. They had shut down because Dave Lagana, who was Billy Corgan's business partner, who essentially ran the NWA, Dave Lagana was outed by professional wrestler Liv Savage for an incident that happened in 2019 where he sexually assaulted her in their apartment. That's pretty much it. Lagana resigned. NWA sort of shut down and has been in limbo since. And now they're coming back, and they're bringing in fucking Tyrus, who isn't exactly a peach himself right here. I think the irony is very, very palpable here. It's very, very palpable. And it bothers me because we're not even a year, a full calendar year away from speaking out. And this shit is still happening. And look at if Think about the past 3 weeks or so. We had Paul Robinson, who was hired back by Progress to do stuff with him. Paul Robinson was the guy who was called out. And Progress was like, yeah, he's on our show. He's not wrestling, but he's working for us. Then you have New Japan was like, yeah, they came out, it was leaked that Marty Scurll was doing stuff for them on screen as an on-air talent. Like, cool. We're not even a year removed from speaking out. And we have promotions who are heading back to these wrestlers. Sure, Tyrus wasn't called out in that very specific context, but he's being dragged to court about it. We have these promotions who are bringing back in these problematic, historically unsafe performers back into their midst as if nothing happened. And I've railed on this before. I railed on it last week, if I'm not mistaken. We are in an era where kayfabe and the opacity, the opaqueness, of pro wrestling is no longer there. There's no longer this blind curtain behind which we don't see what happens. There's a lot of transparency now, and that's a good thing. Because I think it's important that we hold promotions accountable for this kind of stuff. Now, they can decide to hire these people, but it's a shame. It's a shame that they tried. Yes, Progress cut ties with Paul Robinson. New Japan said that Marty Scurll wasn't going to be used. Oh, fantastic. But you still figured, you thought to yourselves, hey, why don't we do this? It's been about 9 months. People have forgotten about it by now. It's past. It's wild. It's so fucking wild to me. I don't know. It's just really, really strange to me. But in the meantime, there's also positives that come out of this. I mean, that in Britain, there was news that came out that child abuse laws are going to be expanded in England and Wales, and that to include sports coaches and faith leaders who have sexual relationships with 16 and 17-year-olds in their care will be breaking the law under new legislation planned for England and Wales. This was coming out of the BBC earlier this week. And this, I know, is something that Rhea O'Reilly from Pro Wrestling Eve, she's their current champion. Rhea was working on this with members of parliament over in Britain, trying to, being used as using her knowledge, her expertise to try and push some protections a little further. Because you always have the angle where you're like, oh, well, yeah, it's legal over there. But there's also the idea of a relationship, of a power dynamic that also exists that can be abused, which is why they're extending it to coaches and leaders who have sexual relationships with 16 and 17-year-olds. They'll be deemed illegal. That's a big step. It's a big deal. It's not specifically oriented only for pro wrestling. Wasn't the only voice that was included in here, but I do know that that there were some members of Brit Res who were involved in trying to push this forward. So that is still good news. So that's at least something coming out of all of this. But it's so frustrating when you see promotions turning to these scumbags and saying, yeah, let's hire them, and thinking it's a good idea. Then they get the public eye cry, and then they're like, oh, sorry, we fucked up. No, you knew what you were doing. You know what you were doing. Well, look at that. We got Anthony Suter coming in just as it's time to wrap up tonight's edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show that went quite long. Hey, remember, in a couple of minutes, come back. And in the comment section, we need 10 comments to continue our streak going, get it up to number 7. Once the comments unlock, it'll be great. Otherwise, come and join me over on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. We're going to continue the conversation to talk about stuff that I didn't address, that I didn't talk about here. You guys, patrons, you come in and you tell me what you want me to talk about, and I'll talk about it. We will talk about it. It's a discussion. It's good times to have over there. I want to thank everyone who joined me live here this evening. Thank you, everyone, for your continuous support of everything that I do here on Thursday nights. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone who's listening and watching on your own time. Hey, a thumbs up, a like, a share, whatever. Yes, we're going to leave the streak to the streak saver. He's always going to be there to save our ass. Thank you all so very much for joining me this evening, and I'll see you next time.